Warm welcome from my side to the audience. Yeah, as Andy already pointed out, what you see here is the kind of new normal in the market that we are facing in multi-cloud ecosystems. That, of course, with new technologies like microservices and cloudification and containerization pose a lot of challenges to our customers. And just to mention here two of the most, I would say, most important challenges. One is the reduced visibility and observability in these complex ecosystems. And the second is really the more complex, operation, and also, of course, the challenges to the operational budget. So what everybody is looking for in the market is really what can you do with intelligent AI-driven tools to optimize that, and of course to optimize the customer experience in the end for the end customer. So we at Atos, we have explicitly addressed this challenge by investing into a company and a brand called Engage ESM. And we are around 750 experts and concentrating on ServiceNow expertise to really optimize service management in IT and also in the customer services area. And this company is really absolutely customer satisfaction focused, and we are also recognized in the market for being number one actually in the category voice of the customer. And therefore, of course, we want to concentrate today also on the customer experience that we will show you with SAP. So today we are concentrating on the APM part of our portfolio, application portfolio management, performance management with our partner Dynatrace. And we will show you really the technology here and the integration with ServiceNow that we have deployed also at SAP. So for the panel, we have the two parts here. We're starting with the Dynatrace technology overview and also explaining what the benefit is of integrating Dynatrace with ServiceNow. And then we will hand over to Martin and Lars for the customer example and also the challenges, the solutions that SAP has put in place with these technology solutions and with the integrator Atos Engage ESM. So I'm looking forward to the panel. And of course, as said, feel free to put your questions into the chat, and we are happy to answer that after the presentations. Thanks, and over to Michael.
Real pleasure to be here today. What I'm going to be talking about very briefly is about how, in partnership with Dynatrace, ServiceNow, and Engage ESM, it enables innovation at speed and scale through an approach around cloud ops automation. Now, a little bit maybe about Dynatrace. And so just before we get going, Dynatrace is our company name. It's the name of our only product. We like to call it a platform with a market sort of leading cloud application and infrastructure observability offering. It's all we do. We have to be the best at what we do because that's our core business. We're publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, market cap around 16 billion, 3,000 employees, 1,000 of them are in R&D. And our customers, they're generally the largest corporations on the planet, such as SAP. And these customers also have some of the most complex technology landscapes. And that is really the environment where Dynatrace thrives. We have now over 3,000 enterprises depending on the new Dynatrace platform. Equally impressive, I think, is more than 90% of these customers are running a release of Dynatrace less than 45 days old. So there's really no legacy versions for us to support. So that allows us to unleash those 1,000 developers on new innovation. And this results in a major release of Dynatrace every 2 weeks, which generally delights our customers because they get the technology they need when they need it. We have some pretty good industry recognition of our leadership in the key markets. This helps potential customers who may be on the line today select the right solution. In April, Gartner released its latest Magic Quadrant for application performance monitoring, as shown, and that's actually shown here on the slide in the top right of the screen. And we were very, very pleased to be the only solution or platform provider to be in that, first of all, in that top leaders quadrant for all 11 iterations of the Gartner MQ, and to be also positioned the highest on the ability to execute and on the axis of completeness to vision. And if any of you'd like that report, it's freely available on dynatrace.com. Equally in the same, I think what's really important when looking at platforms to power automation is do they fit the persona use cases that you are as our audience joining? Because Gartner's also released the new critical capabilities report in April. It ranks Dynatrace as #1 out of 4 out of the 5 different category use cases. That's for IT ops, DevOps, digital experience, cloud operations, and SRE. Again, reports available on dynatrace.com. Crucial to our success as a business are our partners. It now represents more than 50% of Dynatrace's business, and specifically we hold our partnership with Atos and Engage ESM, SAP, and ServiceNow as our top premier partners around the globe. And so today you're going to hear, as Ralph mentioned and Andy mentioned, you're going to hear from a such case around SAP, where all these parties came together to build together a truly innovative automation stack. Whilst SAP is a special customer and a special case, there are hundreds of more companies around the globe working to achieve the kind of same automation use cases and business outcomes. And these outcomes are like being able to do 100% automated incident management and ticketing process, kind of to be absolutely crush the return to normal recovery times and reduce the amount of manual effort to near zero on common repeatable problems. And to kind of enable these kind of automation results in complex dynamic multi-clouds really requires and necessitates a real-time CMDB. That is just not an option to have not have a CMDB or not have a CMDB up to date if you want to enable workflow and automation on the back end of this. So, once you get the kind of results here that are being highlighted and will be highlighted by SAP with these high degrees of automation, that frees time for innovation, but also automation comes to play extremely well in the development pipelines, in the DevOps pipelines, because this enables organizations to release at a greater velocity, release at a higher quality, and to do that through autonomous release validation. And there's you can see here in the quote on the screen is one such other customer example, taking app restart times from 1 hour to 9 seconds, eliminating all manual effort, and that of course saves both business impact from outages, but also a massive help to the resource impact of these issues. But maybe before we go a little bit more into those use cases and go a little bit further, let's talk a little bit about our approach. And it's no secret that companies across all industries are under pressure to digitally transform. We ran a recent survey, 700 CIOs confirmed that 89% of their digital transformations accelerated in the last year. That's from manufacturing to commerce to education to finance. Every company is becoming a software company. And I can't recall how many times I've seen banks. I saw a Singapore bank in the news last week saying we have more developers than bankers because they consider themselves more a technology company with a banking license. And as kind of Ralph mentioned, underpinning all of this transformation is dynamic multi-clouds. Again, the same survey said that 86% of organizations are using now cloud-native technologies like Kubernetes to host and run microservices. But my point being here, if these environments are pretty complex, right? The modern clouds are very complex. The teams that are managing these are already stretched to their limits, and those limits create gaps, potentially holes in security. Those gaps can slow innovation, and really, this is where innovation needs to compete and absolutely thrive. So we've kind of moved really to a world where everything's dynamic. Infrastructure and microservices and containers are in constant motion, spinning up, spinning down, moving between nodes. And this brings a scale and complexity that's way beyond anything we've seen before. The tools teams have been using, the tool, well, should I say the tools and the stacks that the operations teams have been using up until this point, just are not designed for, really historically have not been designed for these dynamic environments, and they've been rendered virtually useless. The problem goes way beyond the tools as well, because the ever increasing volume and variety and the velocity of change and therefore data, it really tips these tools over from a scalability point, but also it tips the humans over, where humans and dashboards can't keep up with the analytics that's needed to look at this data. And then on top of that, the frequency of change is accelerating, which is putting even more strain on the existing approaches for observability, existing approaches for release management, change management, and as I mentioned earlier, security. And, thanks to COVID, the applications that run the business are clearly more important than ever. It's probably the primary touch point for many of your organizations to your customers, and the business, and especially your users, expect everything kind of to work all of the time. And just to compound matters, if that wasn't worse enough, the resources remain extremely constrained, and the hours spent chasing problems and troubleshooting issues really steals more and more time for really the important job at hand, which is innovation. So I hope you would sort of level with me in that really there's a new way is needed. Automation intelligence isn't an option in the cloud, it's a necessity. So when customers I'm seeing and talking to are rethinking their monitoring strategy, they're really looking for something that goes beyond dashboards, something that really filters out the noise, gives precise answers, that has a lot of automation so that really team can regain time instead of waste it. Those organizations need to see everything end to end, from the business KPIs right the way down to the code level. No sampling, no blind spots, no guesswork. And of course, the world's one where we need to collaborate. We need to really interconnect the whole technology sort of ecosystem, provide visibility right across the state to the different teams. So there's really the kind of need is there to kind of observe everything from the outside in to assure that business performance for every user all of the time. So how does kind of Dynatrace do that? And maybe a brief explanation of this will also help on the value, and what the value is of Dynatrace connected with ServiceNow. This all begins with the input data. The Dynatrace One agent makes it super easy to capture high fidelity data across your full stack of technology. That agent auto installs, it auto discovers, it auto instruments the application infrastructure, it also baselines what's normal. And then the key to this is that the data that you get out from that is all connected. And we connect that using what we call our patented PurePath technology and our Smartscape. The PurePath is the end-to-end transaction capture, and the Smartscape is the real-time map of the entire enterprise, from every tap, click, and swipe, all the way back to the database and mainframe calls. And this map or the model is maintained in highly dynamic cloud environments in real time with zero overhead. And because you've got now this really rich, connected, not correlated, but connected data set, because we're doing that transaction following always on all of the time, we can then leverage the model with the connected data set and the AI algorithms to perform automation. We're able to automate detecting problems completely automatically, no configuration required. Determine the business impact of problems automatically. Determine the root cause of those issues automatically. And as I said, this whole process is completely automated, no manual effort to set up and to make happen. And the results, when you bring all of this together, it comes together in an AI-driven problem card, for want of a better name. This includes, you're looking at one here, this includes the business impact down to automated root cause determination. Simply put, these are the answers where you can actually go back and check that they're accurate, they're deterministic answers because it's based on a model. And this once you've got answers, you can't really automate on data without human intervention, but you can automate on answers. And so that's a kind of a quick whirlwind tour of Dynatrace. It's really that all-in-one platform for intelligence, with intelligence kind of at the core, covering all the key kind of disciplines of observability, from infrastructure to application monitoring, security, digital experience management, cloud automation. I'll talk more about that in a moment. And clearly AI ops built in at the core, not bolted on, as you'll find with many other solutions. So a few words about the partnerships and the integration possibilities. As an official ServiceNow partner, Dynatrace has built 2 certified apps that are available on the ServiceNow store. The first is incident integration, and the second is a service graph connector. As you'll see here on the screen, we recently ran a webinar series. Included in that was ServiceNow's ITOM product management. We have, if any of you want to follow up, we have data sets, blogs on the topic, and we have over 500 proven successful customers like SAP using Dynatrace and ServiceNow together. And that's also where our decade-plus long partnership with Atos and its Engage ESM business unit really comes into play as one of our real global strategic business transformation and integration partners. Atos, Engage ESM have competencies in Dynatrace. It's one of only 10 companies on the planet that holds a global competency around our platform. It has a huge number of certified people, both in Dynatrace and ServiceNow. And this upcoming SAP use case is one such project of SAP, ServiceNow, Engage ESM coming together and working together for customer success. So what are these automation use cases, just to wrap up and lead into SAP? Well, a neat way to think about this is with these three boxes: sense, think, and act. And kind of as I've already outlined, Dynatrace provides observability, right, into the dynamic production environments. It senses any deviations from the norm. Dynatrace then suppresses all the noise, links all the symptoms of the problem into that single problem ticket or event, and then routes it along the way, along with root cause, pipes it into ServiceNow. Dynatrace also continually augments and updates and enriches the ServiceNow CMDB in real time without the need to do any invasive or periodic scanning of the environment. And that means really the CMDB is always current, and therefore if there are any issues or events or incidents, they can always be linked to the correct configuration item and prioritized with a full understanding of the business impact. Because you can kind of think in dynamic containerized environments where those, a Kubernetes cluster has orchestration built in. It's moving and scaling the containers and the workloads on the fly. Maybe one of those orchestration events perhaps triggers an issue. And these kind of changes are where, very rapid changes, such as where an application might be running, will never be missed because the CMDB is already up to date, and it will never be wrongly connected or correlated to where it was rather than where it is now. Now, with ServiceNow then has workflows and obviously insight into change management. It has insight into release management, capacity management, and those workflows can then be triggered, engaging the right people, the right teams to take the right action. And in certain cases, that action can be automation tasks that can be executed either in ServiceNow or with other automation solutions like Ansible. And that's really where the third box is, the act box, to work on the remediation. And once that change has been invoked, Dynatrace is key to ensuring that closed loop remediation to assess that the solution that's been, or the change that's happened, has actually fixed the issue, in which case Dynatrace can close out the incident or the problem. Or has it made no difference, or in fact, has that change actually worsened the issue? So these are the kind of flows, and that drives really what are the four distinct use cases. We've talked about the first one, CMDB enrichment and maintenance in highly dynamic cloud environments. The second one is automated intelligent incident management, connecting the two. The third one is doing the closed loop remediation, as I mentioned, so Dynatrace can check that the solution has actually had the positive effect and close out the event or the incident. And the final one, which we won't spend too much time on today, is automated release validation. And the kind of genesis to this is we all know releases of new artifacts into production is often the cause of issues. DevOps clearly speeds up the rate of change, the volume of change, and Dynatrace has built into the platform now a cloud automation control plane that can automate the creation and management of quality gates throughout the development pipeline stages, for a unit test, integration test, into staging, and for release into production, where maybe then the artifacts are being assessed at those different stages against key service level objectives, service level indicators, and either that artifact, that new microservice, is either promoted to the next stage or rejected back to the developer with actionable insights for the developer to remedy. And if you're doing that in production with progressive, kind of progressive delivery in production, Dynatrace can even automate blue-green deployments or canary releases, and if there are any problems, then automatically roll back in the case of any issues that it observes. So quick whirlwind, those are the use cases. And as you can see, that touches the entire life cycle, the entire teams, whether it's dev collaborating with ops or ops with business or biz with dev. Anyone and everyone can get on the same page pretty quickly. We think Dynatrace is radically different. It helps our customers go faster, deliver better results with less friction, and with, and make their teams absolutely more optimized. And as we've said already, one customer, one business partnership we have is with SAP. There are many teams within SAP depending on Dynatrace, but one such team is Commerce Cloud, and they've achieved some amazing results under the leadership of our next speaker, Martin Auer, VP of Observability in CX for SAP. So at that point, Martin, let me please hand over to you.
Of course, thank you, Michael. Thanks for the nice words. So first of all, thanks for the great partnership with Engage ESM and the Dynatrace. We have a good time together. So actually our part is shared in two presenters. So I will take the generic overview about observability services and how we use Dynatrace. And then my colleague Lars Caro will show you a bit more technical details on how it actually works with the ServiceNow integration. Let me give you a quick overview about Commerce Cloud. So Commerce Cloud is a platform as a service offering where SAP provides the infrastructure and the code bases. The customers then build on top of the code base with their own code and can also fully customize and integrate with third parties like payment providers. This also means that each commerce shop is unique in its way, because every customer uses different integrations, different code base, different coding standards. We have over 3,500 customers that actually chose SAP as their commerce platform, and the transaction volumes are really big. It's about $500 billion GMV on the platform across 20 plus industries and more than 100 countries. We are measured as the best-in-class solution with an average go live of less than 5 months and fastest deployments of a little bit less than 14 days. And yeah, we're also part of the Gartner Commerce prominent there every year for the last 6 years. I want to show you some of the brands we support, and depending on where you are, which country, I think the one or the other brand and logo might be known to you. But that's about it with the marketing about commerce, but that you have a clear understanding on what we're talking about. I think it's important to spend at least a minute here. So let me go a bit more on the observability service. So we promise every customer 99.95% uptime, and in addition to that the storefront loads within 1 second without the customer additions to our code. This is a big commitment to the market. And in addition to that, every service degradation has a business impact for our customers. Think about your own commerce experience. So when you go to a web shop and you proceed to check out, and it takes like 30 seconds until the checkout finally shows your cart, then you might consider buying somewhere else. Or if you go to a commerce site and want to search a product and the search does not work. So it's not just that the website is available, it's really about the business that we need to ensure. So to actually have these capabilities required, the answer is, of course, observability, and we need an APM tool, and for this, SAP chose Dynatrace for all customers. Let me share a bit about our focus. So we want to give every customer a 360-degree view on all their environments. Doesn't matter if it's a production, a development, or staging environment. And actually, customers have the same access that SAP has. So they have access to Dynatrace and they can see what's going on. What we deliver to customers, we instrument the standard calls in commerce and show business metrics to customers, like real user monitoring data, or how much CMV they do, or the amount of orders and which currencies they transact with. We give our customers the real-time insights on user experience. In addition with that, with real user monitoring, especially when you do performance tests or if you have a situation going on in your production environment, you want to do a root cause analysis. And for this root cause analysis, it's key that the customer can really dig into all the pure path, all the data, all the database calls to see where something was slow or where something is failing. On top of that, SAP built a microservice architecture where we have a configuration management system with configuration as a code. We have an audit service for cost control. We have a consolidation API where we can query information across all the tenants and environments for the business insights integration. And I show you in a sec why this is so important for us. And for ServiceNow, a sneak peek on why we did that. So we were the first in SAP because we wanted to have all the alerts in one single tool and use a centrally fully automated CMDB that is filled by several tools. And with that, we want to combine the observability information like application performance data, real user behavior, synthetic monitoring, and deep experiential insights to detect issues and identify the root cause, thus reducing time to repair and minimizing the business impact. And in a sec, Lars will speak about all the nice things we did with ServiceNow. But before that, that's my last slide. So we have 10 production clusters distributed all over the world, 10 Dynatrace clusters that in sum share about 45,000 host units, where we had over the last years a 70% increase year over year, and we expect about the same happening the next years. Every month, we have about 7,000 active users on one of the 10 Dynatrace clusters. We have 6,500 tenants overall stored. And here comes our big challenge. All these customer production environments produce about 50,000 alerts every month. And all these alerts go into ServiceNow. And with that, I hand over to Lars to show you a bit and talk you through our ServiceNow integration. Lars, over to you.
Thanks, Martin, for the initial part. Now let's have a look into what we have done with ServiceNow and Dynatrace and how our integration looks. Thanks, Martin, for the first slide. Our ServiceNow dashboard is one of this one you are seeing right now. Is the event dashboard where we have all our monitoring information available. This is where all alerts and events are visible. Our service operation teams have an easy access to what our customers are currently up to. And if they have issues or if there are critical issues, this is visible within this dashboard. Here, as Martin already mentioned, you can see one cluster. And within this cluster, you see quite a few of our customers. If you have a different selection, you can actually see the customer name. I choose that one so that they are not identifiable during this webinar. Additional information is then there to have a quick check which environments are good, which are green, which are maybe red and have some issues. All of this is integrated within ServiceNow, coming mainly from Dynatrace, but additional monitoring tools like Catchpoint are also integrated, and we have also the possibility to directly integrate with cloud platforms if needed. On the next slide, you can see that our operational teams normally work with incident tickets. So they are working on ServiceNow incident tickets, but within ServiceNow, they still have all customer relevant monitoring events accessible to them. So they can check an incident and still have additional monitoring events right at the same tool without switching, or if they want to, they can access Dynatrace via links within ServiceNow and do some deeper analysis, or they can still stay within ServiceNow and check the alerts there and see if there is maybe some additional information around the incident to better identify the root cause. Normally, the events are, or all events are going into ServiceNow and then are created as an alert. And after a certain time, our incident process starts and launches and decides what to do with the alert. If it's a critical alert, then these will be differently processed than just normal alerts where we say, well, that is not highly critical, but it's necessary that someone takes a look at it. The teams have additionally the possibility to create a case for customer communication. At the moment, this is done manually, but here we're also planning to do some automation. If, for example, based on the information we have within Dynatrace, we decide that this is something the customer needs to see immediately, we are planning to automatically create a case and inform the customer right away that something has happened that is impacting his environment and that we are working on it to restore the service as soon as possible. On the next slide, there is more information about how, one back please. One slide.
Two. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, all good. Yeah, here you can see how the processing is done. So we have an initial processing within Dynatrace. Yeah. But it's really important that we are creating incidents, and the way towards an incident is fully automated within ServiceNow. That means Dynatrace is pushing all events it sees into ServiceNow. Within ServiceNow, we are grouping the events and alerts based on CMDB data and additional data we are seeing into alerts. And then that is where we have spent most of our time. We have created alert management rules that will turn these alerts into incidents based on our ruling. Yeah. The alert management rules can also do some additional automation. They use a problem ID provided by Dynatrace. So we are additionally using Dynatrace information where Dynatrace AI has gathered some information, and based with all this data, we are really able to create very valid incidents for our support team to work on them and then improve the incident resolution. As you can see, there are some rules and integration steps necessary, but for our initial proof of concept, we use the Dynatrace application, which is available via the ServiceNow store. That was something, it was like a 1 or 2 day setup to get all the network links up and running, but afterwards, we had a system up and running. We had the information within ServiceNow, and actually, we could have used that information within production, but the setup is only really usable if you're having one Dynatrace tenant. Our setup, as Martin explained a little bit earlier, consists of a couple thousand tenants, and therefore the Dynatrace application has not been used. We are using the same approach as the Dynatrace application, but we are doing it for many, many tenants within Dynatrace. On the next slide, a little bit about the CMDB information. Michael already said that the CMDB is dynamically created, and we're using that dynamically created CMDB within ServiceNow too. Yeah, it's completely automatically uploaded into ServiceNow. There is really no manual interaction, and we have a very good and very solid CMDB information within ServiceNow with all the necessary data like IP addresses, applications that are running, on disk information. Yeah, everything is there. It's within ServiceNow, and it's fully automatically gathered by the Dynatrace One agent on the systems. Then again, if you're looking on the slide, you see there are additional CMDB data that is coming from other sources. This data is coming from our service provider, internal service provider, who's providing the hosting infrastructure. There, Dynatrace has no direct access, and therefore we are using other sources to provide that information. But it's again automatically linked within ServiceNow. Therefore, you can, for example, here see that the application O2 is running on a virtual machine, and that virtual machine is running on a certain ESX server. And that ESX server is in a data center and again has an IP address. So everything is linked together and is accessible within ServiceNow. Okay, now coming back to the next slide. Thanks, Martin. As already mentioned, our customers have access to their Dynatrace tenant. That means they will have the exactly same information from Dynatrace as we have in the operations team. This is usually very helpful for the customers, but sometimes also puts a little bit pressure on our teams. Therefore, we decided to have one initial step in for our automation, and that was to provide some information back into Dynatrace. That means if ServiceNow is creating an incident ticket, we will push the relevant information about the incident into Dynatrace, and Dynatrace can show this information on the problem it has detected. So our customers know that we're working on an internal ticket and are resolving the issue already. Even so, we might not have contacted the customer or have created a case for the customer as it is a more internal issue, like a disk issue, something like that, where the customer system is not fully impacted, but we are already seeing it, and we are doing proactive tasks to ensure that the system will not fail. And let me close our part with the roadmap. We are additionally planning to integrate this Dynatrace tenants for each customer, if the customer wants it, into the customer's own monitoring, or not monitoring, but into the customer's own operational system. That could be the customer ServiceNow instance, or it could be PagerDuty or Slack. That means Dynatrace will then additionally send only information for one customer into the customer's system, and the customer can use that information from Dynatrace to further work on it, improve his code, or have it within his ticket system so he can easily access the data. Okay, that's all.